All right, we're back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. We've switched the camera angle here. Hopefully this microphone still works all right like that. How's everyone doing today, Sunday? Hope you're all doing well. For those of you keeping track, I think this is around Song of the Day number 40, I think, right around there. Which means, yeah, I'm still on a different t-shirt every day. I don't know how long that's going to last, but actually I do have a fair amount that I have to use for certain bands, so we may have to double up on some before I use some of my other ones. This one right here, my first outing at a t-shirt making for a music outlet. Made this in 2004 for Gary over there for his anniversary. Made a handful. I have a drawing on the back that I made. It's hard to see, but it's a hand drawing of a giant boulder that says "We Rock" on it with a hand sticking out underneath it holding a CD. And underneath it, it says, "So hard it hurts." So I thought that was clever. Anyway, what do we got going on today? Today is May 17th, right? Am I right on that? And I had a few choices for today as well, but the more I thought about it, the more I just said, you know what, got to do this one. I don't write history. I just report on it, right? So even for a Sunday where you tend to maybe want to mellow out a little bit, it turns out that today is Trent Reznor's 55th birthday, so got to go with it. Can't ignore that. Trent Reznor, born in Pennsylvania, kind of floated around as a teenager making music. Was getting frustrated with the type of music that he wanted to make. He couldn't find any band members that could do what he wanted. He's also very famous for being very particular. So he was recording a lot of those songs that showed up early all by himself, much like Prince. He played all the instruments except for the drums on that first album. So that first album came out in '89. That's the seminal album, Pretty Hate Machine. I remember when that album came out, I was working at Record Town at the time, and that would just fly off the shelves. I wasn't yet into that kind of music. I wasn't listening to anything really heavy. I don't even know if I gave it a chance, but I do remember we sold a lot of it. I did not get into Nine Inch Nails until about '93 when I went to work at Music Outlet. So they put out Pretty Hate Machine. Critics love that album. That has a lot of great tracks on it. Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Down on It, Sanctified, The Only Time, what else? There's another one on there. Anyway, then he puts out an EP a little bit after that. That one's called Broken. He wins a Grammy for that, for Best Heavy Metal Performance. Who remembers the story of Best Heavy Metal Performance? The very first band to win that category for a Grammy. That was the $1 million question on that show on TV. That was what was the first trivia show about music? Anyway, the $1 million question was that question, and I knew the answer, and I was just screaming up and down because they had the choices down below, and I think they narrowed it down to Metallica or Jethro Tull, and the guy guessed Metallica, and the answer is Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull won the first ever Grammy for Best Heavy Metal Performance. It basically was a giant sham, but we can talk about that another time. So, anyway, he wins that Grammy, and then I think some time goes by, and yeah, a few years. Then they released The Downward Spiral, and that's in '94. That goes to number 2, obviously, huge, biggest hit for them, Closer. Just put them in the stratosphere, and they toured for years after that, just doing like several years of massive touring. I think they went 5 or 6 or 7 years without an album after that. One of the more interesting facts about Trent Reznor is, remember we talked about Wax Trax Records the other day with Thrill Kill Cult? He did do a side project with Ministry on Wax Trax, but because of his contract, he had to make his voice so distorted that you wouldn't recognize it. But let's go back to Downward Spiral. that's a great song. The album itself is pretty good for me. I mean, I would still rather listen to Pretty Hate Machine, hands down. And then later they came out with The Fragile in '99. Again, that one didn't sell very much at all, much less popular, and they kind of dwindled off from there. But that album has one of my favorite songs on it called Into the Void. So if you're a Nine Inch Nails fan and you missed that one, listen to Into the Void from The Fragile. What else do we know? This was interesting. Trent Reznor has songwriting credits on that song by Lil Nas X, the Old Town Road, because he samples a instrumental Nine Inch Nails track from 2008. So I thought that was pretty cool when I was checking that information out. Another thing is, he did, for me personally, Gary Numan. Everyone knows Gary Numan from the song Cars, which you're probably sick of, but Gary Newman's huge, huge, huge following in the UK. He's considered basically the pioneer of electronic music, and I like a lot of his work. I like a bunch of his songs from the late 70s. And there's a video out there of him performing one of his songs with Nine Inch Nails that I thought was pretty cool. So what do we got to go with? I mean, normally I would probably go with something from Pretty Hate Machine because I've already told you that that's my favorite album. But you really got to go with Closer, because that video was just, in some polls, it's like voted one of the top videos of all time as far as directing and composition. So that's your Sunday song of the day. Nine Inch Nails, Closer. Happy birthday, Trent Reznor. And have a great Sunday. We'll see you on the flip side.